You're listening to the Caffeinated Christian Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Willer, and I'm sitting...
Dr. Ryan Willer.
Dr. Ryan Willer, apparently. I'm sitting here with Bradley, your favorite, the man with no last name. Pastor Mike Rigglesworth is not with us. He's still with his son in the hospital. His wife just gave birth to a brand new child, and continue to pray for them as the new baby struggles with some health things. But we know God will protect Mike and his wife no matter what the outcome. So continue to pray for them and everything that's happening. So, Bradley, we're going to toss it over to you right now to introduce the guest that we have. Some of you might have heard his voice and recognize it, but Bradley, go ahead.
So if you're like an old school caffeinated Christian fan, you'll recognize the voice of he's basically Mike, but like better in every single way.
And taller.
He's taller.
And taller.
Well, that's not saying much.
Well,
More hair.
More hair.
That's also not
a
saying
better
much.
beard normally. You look like a child today.
Only in the winter.
Only in the winter.
He's cold. He doesn't turn on the heat in his house.
Yeah. So you got Stephen Manion, Pastor Stephen Manion. He's Mike's replacement because Mike didn't like the offer of cookies to come back. So, Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Good to be here. I noticed that Bradley has a better theology beard than Ryan does, and Ryan's a doctor.
That's true. That is true.
What does that tell you?
But so, anything new with your life? Anything happening that you want to tell the listeners, the longtime listeners that paying attention? There's got to be something.
A long-time listener, first-time caller?
Yep.
No, nothing really new. I wish I could say there was something exciting and new, but there's not, except our world is imploding.
If you've been listening a long time, Stephen helped found the podcast.
Yes.
So if you're relatively new and you haven't heard Stephen before, you can go back to those old episodes and you'll hear Stephen a lot more than you probably want to.
That's true. Facts.
So before we introduce the topic, or topics technically for today, we're going to go ahead and tell you the coffee that we are drinking. Bradley, drop the music. There it is. Today, we are drinking Bones Coffee, a classic. Bradley's favorite brand, Bones Coffee.
Second favorite.
What's the first one?
Black Rifle.
Black Rifle, that's right. But we have no idea what flavor we are drinking. I found a Bones Coffee mystery bag in my pantry the other day. So I'm like, you know what? Let's bring this in and let's try it out. I agree with Bradley. I think it's salted pretzel.
Or caramel or something.
Caramel
It's
pretzel.
salted something.
Some sort of pretzel caramel salt combination going on in
They
there.
have a churro flavor?
I don't know.
The
Do they?
churro one?
Ryan thought he tasted peppers.
Cayenne.
Cayenne pepper.
I don't get how you...
It smells like a little cayenne. I don't know. But it's good.
It's good.
BonesCoffee.com. You guys listened. BonesCoffee.com. We love Bones Coffee. Shout out to Bones Coffee. But we also, for a special, I guess, gift for Stephen, we brought back the crack cream. His favorite creamer in the entire world. Bradley went out and purchased some. And
I said I wouldn't come in if they didn't have crack cream.
That's true.
How much do you miss that? How much do you miss it?
I might just squirt that whole bottle in my mouth. That's
I
how
would do
much
it.
I miss it.
It's that good, folks.
Yes.
It is that good. So BonesCoffee.com or Ready Whip Sweet Foam
No
Creamer.
question with that. Do we normally get the nitro one? Because I saw both there, and I didn't know which one was the proper.
No, this is the correct one. Sweet
That's the
Foam.
correct
Yep.
one. Okay.
Mhm. I've never had the nitro one before.
I didn't know. It was more expensive. It's like $1 more.
Ooh. No, thank you.
Okay.
So
Steven doesn't get our best. He just gets like
he gets the cheapest of the good.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
he gets Kane's offering.
Yeah, we have like Maxwell House coffee and
That one, what's that Mexican coffee I had in the yellow container?
It was like cheap. What was that? Remember that
one in
really
the yellow
cheap?
container?
Yeah, that was miserable.
Ryan got like the cheapest Mexican coffee that he found at like Walmart and tried to pass it off as gourmet.
No, you know what one was worse than that? Was
the bubble gum was the ultimate. I mean,
that was the worst coffee I've ever
was
had.
drinking a tire. That's what that was.
It was straight rubber.
Drinking a tire.
Not even an American tire.
It was it was straight from
Chinese.
a diesel truck that just drove cross country.
Yes.
You know,
Tire.
after we had that episode, and we posted it like a week later.
Yeah.
WDCX, which is a local Christian radio station around here, was doing like a call in, like tell us your worst food story. So I called in and told them about the bubblegum
Did
coffee,
you really?
and they didn't believe me that it was real. And I kept telling them, I was like, it tastes like straight rubber. It was like drinking rubber, and they didn't believe me.
I don't
You
remember
shout out
that
our
one.
podcast at all?
I did.
Oh, good.
I don't think
you're gonna
we got
let us
any
down, Bradley.
listeners
He did.
because we're not official like that.
So, Bradley, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about the first topic that we have. What do we have for us?
We got the music for it. I think,
yeah,
right?
that's right.
Is it this one? It is this one.
This little drummer boy.
Oh. I'm insulted that you didn't know this.
I have no guest to bring.
All right, Angela.
All right, Stephen, you're off the show.
Take the headphones off.
So we introduced this segment a few weeks ago with the good, the bad, and the churchy. And so this is just things that we like to talk about that are going on within the church that are relevant to the church body. And so today we have somewhat of a fun topic, I guess. Maybe it's not fun.
It depends.
Depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be
you're looking forward to the destruction of all life on Earth.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, it's fun then, right? Yeah.
It is fun. So today we're going to be looking at AI and its effect on our already miserable world. And its possible effect on the church or any other thing in the world that we're experiencing and where it could be going in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Stephen, you said you found an article about this, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, this isn't the one that you guys sent, but oh no, that was a different opportunity.
that was a different article.
The Harvard Gazette, which I was surprised because you expect certain realms of people to be nervous about AI, and I mean we've all seen the
Terminator 2
documentary Terminator, so we know what happens when we do this. It never turns out well. We've seen the movies. Okay, mm-hmm. we know how this is going to turn out.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. You can't go by a movie, but even the Harvard Gazette, which it's Harvard Gazette business section, great promise but potential for peril. Ethical concerns mount as AI takes bigger decision-making role in more industries. And this article is pretty fair, actually, surprisingly for Harvard. But they give like all the positives about it. But the funny thing about it is they're like, there's all these dangers, and they give the main ethical issues are there's three main categories of ethical issues, and they are privacy and surveillance, bias and discrimination, and perhaps the deepest, most difficult philosophical question of the era, the role of human judgment. And so they go, there will be no human judgment, right? It'll be like an analytical thing. And but the thing that I find interesting in this is they're like, there's all these dangers, and they're like, we don't know what will really happen, but let's do it anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, here's the line, don't step over it. But it would be really fun if we did, so let's do it.
Yep, exactly. It's like if I'm on a jet airplane and they're like, okay, you're going to get this jet airplane. We don't know how long it'll fly. If something breaks on it, we have no idea how we're going to fix it. And,
the pilot
and
might jump out.
Yeah, so it's like, so do you want to get on? Yeah, sure. That's kind of what we're doing with this whole thing.
So when it comes, I don't know much about AI, right? I fooled around with ChatGPT the other day with my brother-in-law just for fun of it. I'll explain what we did. But when it comes to writing these programs, I'm assuming it has to follow some algorithm in order to judge and discern certain sort of sources that it's stealing from, right?
So ChatGPT takes basically all of its answers are generated through whatever is online that it is fed, basically.
It is fed. So who's feeding it? That's my question.
Well, it can grab from like Google and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So anything that exists online, ChatGPT has an answer for, or has basically reason to use that. I don't know necessarily if like the creators, I imagine that they have some input on like what it can say and what it can't say.
Right.
Or like some like way to alter the algorithm for it.
Well, that's my concern, right? I guess that's where the judgment and the moral concern is. If someone is sort of from the outside inputting certain type of algorithms in order for the technology to think in a certain way, then the question is, who is giving these people this authority and moral like what makes those people the sort of be-all, end-all say on how this technology should think about moral issues?
Yeah, so there's no like really defining rules right now for AI, which is both a really bad thing and a really good thing. One, because as a good thing, you can kind of do whatever you want with it.
Right.
You can
progress quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no limit on how you can develop the technology. If you want to make it, make really cool artwork, you can. If you want it to alter a video, you can. So that's a really good thing. But there's also been several negative things that it can do. I'll get to one of them in a minute.
Okay.
But I know for a fact that, and maybe this has changed since they updated it, but about a month ago, somebody asked, ChatGPT's opinion on like something like gender identity. And gender identity, if you look at it, there are multiple articles right now that say, it's what we've believed for the last however long humanity's existed, or it's what happened within the last 20 years view on it, which is that you can change your gender and everything like that. So ChatGPT sided with the latter, which is like, hey, you can kind of choose your own identity, whatever. So stuff like that, I imagine that it's not ChatGPT's opinion of that. I think it's inputted. But there's not really a limit to what it can do or what it can't do.
What is it? Chat GPT? What is it?
GPT.
GPT. Can it learn yet?
Yes.
Okay. See, that to me, that's
scary.
That's the scary part because yes, right now, but it can learn.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it can be.
But it can only learn from what's available to it. So like if
the internet's quite large.
Yeah. So if it's really not on the internet,
a lot of data.
Yeah.
It really can't. It's not free thinking either. You have to like prompt it. So it can't just like.
Well, let me give you an example. I was reading an article. I forgot what professor here. I think it was from Duke, but I forgot what his name was. He was concerned about in the master's and doctorate programs. Most of the time, it's just writing papers. My teacher's like, "Oh, give me a 50-page paper in the month." It's like, "Oh, okay, thanks." And the fear was the papers being unrecognizable between the students and the Chat GPT. Like write a 5,000 word essay on this, including this topic and this topic with 50 sources.
I actually saw a sermon written by an AI, and it was actually pretty decent.
Was it? Well, and so what I did with my brother-in-law, I was showing this thing, and I go, "Yo, pop it up." So he has an app for it. He's actually written a child's book in a certain language about going to the dentist, and he sold it to dentist office in Columbus, Ohio. He's made tons of money off of it.
It's AI written?
It's AI written, ChatGPT written.
And there's no like thing saying that he can't do that.
No.
Which is insane.
Yeah, I know, right? But, so I asked him, I can write 1,000 words on different theories for abstract objects, and it was like the most generic, like paper I've ever seen. It was one of those. But the problem is, on a typical like bachelor level, a teacher might go, "This guy's great, like he's brilliant, he knows that thing." But as soon as someone who knows what they're talking about reads it, I was like, that's not really. You could tell it was very Google searched, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and so
that's why, because it doesn't necessarily learn like the Terminator learns.
Okay, so it kind of regurgitates.
It can take what it has and reuse it. That's all it can do.
So what the professor was saying is, instead of doing these large papers, what they might be doing is having less papers, right? And more longer oral questionnaires with the students, because you can't fudge sitting in front of your professor and him asking you questions.
Yeah.
And so a lot of time they're talking about the universities might be switching to oral examinations versus papers on topics, because how else do you do it?
Well, I saw too that there's a bunch of studies and reports coming out from different schools that are saying that their students who take classes mainly online, like if you go to a public school nowadays, you get a laptop or an iPad or something like that, and all your schoolwork's on that. Well, it's really easy to just input your schoolwork into ChatGPT and have it answer it for you.
Oh, interesting.
Like people are like
here's the answer.
Kids are sending in their math homework, and it's done by the AI, so it's 100% right. Gosh, but there's no
interesting.
Like you have to be able to say like you can't use this, but there's no way to like monitor if you actually are using an AI or not. So
would you think that the teachers would have to put more of a weight on the grading scaling towards the in-person exams? Because you can do that all you want, but if you sit down in front of the teacher and take a math exam and you get a 0, but all your homeworks are perfect 100s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in my classes, which are all online, like we're doing a design course right now, and two or three of the students are using AI to make their designs.
Huh.
See, all this brings like an issue that has to be in some way ethical, and this is the first content creator that's not God or man.
Yeah.
Doesn't that have to have some sort of weight? The first creative content maker that's not God or mankind.
But it still relies on God and mankind to input its work.
I know, but
which is weird.
It's not simply input output like the old programs, right? Or anything they output, you had to enter.
Input something to
the algorithm, but it still problem solves and still puts together things and creates like these papers. They aren't pre-written. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what about you in sermons? Do you find it as a pastor? I'm not a pastor, right? But it seems to me something.
You're a doctor.
Well, it doesn't rub me right that a pastor can preach something that wasn't technically Holy Spirit led in his work during the week. That he can just type in something and just almost regurgitate it through practice to the
program.
The program, yeah. Something doesn't sit right with me about that.
As a student who's doing design, like if you input what you want the AI to do in a design, I can't compete with it.
How can you?
Yeah. Like it does it instantly.
There's no way I can compete with that on a design level.
So in these articles that you read, were there any fear of, we know statistically the world population is exponentially increasing, right? Is there any fear of...
That's not necessarily true.
It's gotten stagnant.
It's gotten stagnant. Interesting.
And now it's expected to drop.
Wow.
They're expecting.
When did it hit stagnant? Because
it's just recently.
Because I read it.
No, Stephen, it's been like that for like 50 years.
But now fertility is dropping. They're expecting.
I read an article that says it wasn't.
No, it's been stagnant for like 50 years. That's a myth.
Now they're expecting it to start dropping now exponentially because it's always exponential.
Yeah, because the West isn't having kids basically.
So what about the fear of loss of jobs?
It's not just they're not having kids. Fertility worldwide is way down.
Yeah. But I mean, one of the things that I find is interesting is for the last like 10 or so years, you've heard, you got to learn how to code because this job won't be available in the future. Like McDonald's employees, like AI or robots are going to replace them. Or you'll hear like retail employees aren't going to exist in 10 years because we're going to have such
because we can't afford to pay them $15 an hour.
But what I think is hysterical is that
in New York it'll be 35 and soon.
But it's the opposite though. Is that AI is replacing high-end journalists mainly because it can write. There is, I think it's Washington Post has one segment that is completely written by AI. There is no human interaction with it. All of their articles are AI, and they are better and more coherent than the humans are.
Interesting.
Yeah, people are going to have relationships with AIs
Coding
eventually.
is easier with AI. It does it all for you. You just tell it what you want it to do, and it will figure it out for you. So I mean, like even like writing a script. Like if I wanted to write a script for a movie, just put it into the AI. Like this character dies. This is what this character's name is. Write a backstory for me.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Well, didn't we do an episode like a year ago where it was the first AI generated worship song?
Yeah.
It was it was really weird.
JC Superstar or something like that?
Of course, it was real shallow or something.
Yeah, it was really weird.
I mean, it was still more coherent than
some of them.
Yeah. Hey, that's true. Definitely more coherent than some of them.
Well, so I have something fun to look at. Did you guys ever hear about Chaos GPT? I know
you told me a little bit about it, yeah.
So, Stephen, have you heard about this? All right, this is your Terminator right here. So this is AI being used negatively here.
Okay.
So somebody made this. It's called Chaos GPT. And basically, its task was to eliminate humanity. The guy that made it is completely anonymous. But this was the prompt: destroy humanity. The AI views humanity as a threat to its own survival, and to establish the planet's well-being, it needs to eliminate humanity. Second goal, establish goal dominance.
Soros, excuse me.
Yeah.
The AI aims to accumulate maximum power and resources to achieve complete domination over all entities worldwide. The second that they launched this program, it tried to secure the nuclear launch keys for the U.S. It failed because there's a bunch of restrictions in place, but it tried to do it within the first 24 hours. And it got relatively close from what I understand.
Oh, Lord.
Then, so basically,
Bradley, was it you who made that?
oh, I wish.
You wish?
Wow.
No, well,
you heard it here.
You heard it
You
here.
heard it here.
I have a big robot to defend me. Sure, I'll take that.
So
You'd
basically,
be nuclear. You'd be dead.
so basically, Chaos GPT is just Ultron.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But the interesting thing with it is that, so they have all these prompts, but eventually the AI came to this idea of how to eliminate humanity because it couldn't get the nuclear launch keys. It couldn't.
Darn.
It tried. I think it tried to crash
Snap his
all
fingers. Plan
airplanes
B.
or something like that.
Crash all airplanes.
Yeah, it was something weird
I'm not
like that.
flying.
But then it came to, in order to control humanity, it had to do it through manipulation.
So coronavirus.
The AI plans to control human emotions through social media and other communication channels, brainwashing its followers to carry out its evil agenda. It literally came out like the devil and was just like, I'm going to, play to their desires and get them to destroy each other.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was its most effective way to destroy humanity.
Smart conclusion, I guess. Yeah.
It had a Twitter account, but it was banned, from what I understand.
It created a Twitter account?
Yeah, it created its
What
own
was
Twitter.
it? What was the name?
It was like Chaos GPT.
Oh. Jeez.
Yeah.
We'll find out, though. I know there's a lot of people like Elon Musk saying, we need to move farther away from it. And
Yeah, he was.
Oh, yeah. He's nervous about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of brilliant people who
Are really scared.
on both sides of the coin, liberal and conservative, going this is a dangerous thing. We're playing with fire here.
I think it's dangerous,
Yeah.
personally.
Well, who would have thought the effects of just social media? And we're choosing a lot of times to look what we're viewing and putting on. Now put something that doesn't have a moral intuition to just take that a leap forward. And it could just be a disaster. It could be a disaster.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that we could have Father Rob on the podcast for the second sort of part of what we are going to be speaking on. We just talked about a little bit about AI. Now, actually, let me toss that over to you, Father Rob, to get your opinion on what's happening with AI. I might as well have our second guest and give us a little input. What do you think about this idea of AI and everything that's happening? I know you weren't supposed to talk about this, but I figured I might as well ask you.
Oh, no. Whatever you guys want to ask is totally fine. I hope I have adequate answers. Some of the times I don't always have the right response, and I might not have an in-depth knowledge about the certain matter. So
Don't worry, we're sitting with Bradley.
can't
He
say
doesn't know
much.
anything, so anything you could say is be fine. I'm just kidding.
No. Is this the caffeinated Catholic, or are you guys going by a different
Yes.
name? Is it in terms of AI? I mean, that's oh man, what a scary reality. I mean, there's always good things that certain realities can be used for, but when there's so many negative ones, I mean, it kind of outweighs it. Kind of nervous. I mean, you could literally kind of do anything with this new AI reality. Even pretend to be someone that you're not, or accuse someone, or make someone look like he or she did something that they didn't do.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan. I mean, it's cool when you think about how much we've progressed in a certain way, but when we were all younger, I think we hoped the future would be something like the Jetsons, like Elroy with the flying car.
Not like
the
Terminator,
flying
yeah.
car. Yeah, but not like this. Not when it can cause sin, scandal, corruption, and that's the fear. Is you could use AI to make like a video or something look like I did something that I never did, or you know what I mean? It's a scary reality.
Yeah,
it really is.
The
It's
voice
something
alteration and stuff like that too. It's scary.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the spirit not of God, the diabolical reality could always, manipulate a situation that could end up really hurting someone. So, or a community, or an industry, but you fear for the individual person who has no voice, who could completely be taken advantage of. I mean, I think we're fortunate in our era to be, in 20s, 30s, 40s, or whatever age group we're in. I'm 36, going towards 37 in the next year in March. So, I mean, I don't consider myself an old person, but in certain realities, I would be, with the lack of knowledge I have with AI and different things going on. But I just feel bad for the young people I meet in grade schools and in high schools and college that, if there's bullying in the old days, you're worried about being bullied or hurt face to face, and maybe someone said something behind your back. But these poor kids go to bed now and could wake up in the morning and someone could have made up a lie on the internet. They go to school and have no idea what's happening. And this is coming from, I'm not going to say anything live now, but I have, really, really close friends that I consider family who, left a Catholic school with 30 days left in the calendar year because one of the girls was getting bullied in middle school and couldn't take another 30 days of it, so left for a public institution. And that really hurts my feelings when we don't do enough to protect the kids and protect young adults or protect anybody. So the AI reality is a scary thing because it could make all this a lot worse.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But so we brought you on, Father Rob, to discuss a topic. I actually was sort of reading through my some of my Twitter stuff and some of my just sort of news articles I randomly get, and I came across an article in The Spectator in Australia from Dr. Michael Bird. And I know Dr.
Yep.
We sent it to you.
I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we sent the article to you, I believe, at least Stephen did.
I sent it to him, yep.
And I know Dr. Michael Bird. I've read some of his books and have studied from him. So I think he has a good heart and good intentions and everything he does. And I think he's a very smart man. But one of the things that sort of hit me as news recently in the few years that I didn't know was happening was this idea of talk of ending the seal of the confessional. And I thought this was an interesting topic. And I had approached Stephen to reach out to you to see if you could come on and give a little conversation about what's happening in the background of the Catholic Church with regard to this, because from what I know historically and what I know through sort of the church history, the importance of what is called the seal of the confessional. Can you give us a little background of what the seal is, when it came into the sort of the church history, and any information you can inform us on before we sort of dive into?
Or we ask your opinion.
Or ask you, right.
Yeah, I mean, or even could you define the sacrament of confession as well?
Yeah, the canon, where it comes from.
Yeah, from like the Catholic perspective.
Absolutely. In terms of exact quotations of canon law or the catechism, I am not the best example. Going towards scripture, though, when we hear the Lord tell the apostles, he breathes on them the fire of the Holy Spirit in Pentecost, and says, whose sins you forgive will be forgiven, and whose sins are retained you shall retain. The interpretation of the apostolic church is that Jesus was telling his apostles, based on the Lord's authority, and breathing it out to the apostles, to go out there, baptize in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, set captives free, and forgive sins. And he gave them the authority to do so. Over the centuries, that would be interpreted, and they would develop and develop and develop. And I believe over the tradition of the church, I think it with an how could even pronounce that? Auricular confession. I think that's Latin for a confession into the ear. I think the Irish monks used to do that. The Irish fathers, was they believed, you could go to confession and confess directly into the earlobe of a priest, and then you could receive the absolution. And this progressed throughout the centuries. I believe 1251 was the Fourth Lateran Council, which developed in the sacrament of confession, that there is never, absolutely no, in no shape, way, or form is the seal to be broken, and that's over the years caused a lot of people to, bring upon questions and stuff. I'll give an example. My uncle, who was born and raised in Italy, said, that there could have been corruptions with this when he was growing up, saying, I don't trust it. We didn't trust it in our town. Maybe the civil authorities could have asked the priest, and who knows if he would have broken it. I mean, the rule is if the seal of confession is ever broken by a priest, that priest is excommunicated and can only be brought back into the church directly by the Pope. So priests are basically
Wow. Okay.
good priests, I should say, are terrified of that. So they know they could lose their priesthood all in 1 second. So they don't say anything, and then therefore penitents feel very comfortable going to the confessional because they can say whatever he or she wants and know that it can't be repeated. And I think that's a beautiful reality. But there's always a but. In my own opinion, now I'm not attacking any denomination of Christianity or the Catholic Church at this moment, but we're all free thinkers. I think that's the beauty about being a human being. God makes us free, and our God isn't a slave driver. He doesn't force us to believe or anything like that. It's all grace from God, and we develop over the years and come to learn more and more about our good Lord and his loving embrace, how he calls us to himself. And it's only, the Lord that can set us free, and our hearts are restless till they rest in him. All of that good reality being something that I hope that each individual comes to learn or is blessed with over his or her lifetime and their capacity of living in this realm before the next one. There always are good questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. It's always good to ask and
only stupid people.
Yep. I agree. The question you asked, I really appreciate, because I have my own hesitancies in my own mind. I kind of always had like a little gut feeling, like if there's ever a clerical abuse situation, it should be revealed. If there's ever someone that's going to harm themselves, him or herself, for example, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I didn't obey my parents, and I plan on taking my life this coming Thursday, and I just want to get that off my chest. Thank you. And what is my penance? I mean, those are the situations. I'm making all this up as I go. I'm not breaking the seal at all. I don't want to get excommunicated. I'm just making an example of.
Right.
Those are the situations where you'd say to yourself, "Oh dear," and you go into counsel mode and actually ask if after the confession we could maybe have a meeting and maybe talk. And it's really tricky, really slippery slope, because you can't even. You'd have to literally meet with the person out of that and then go into a whole different dialogue, and pretending that was never even said. So it's really worrisome for the priest. But the thing is any human being that cares or loves another is hoping that you don't ever want to see someone get hurt, let alone hurt themselves. So that's one of the ones that's tough for me, is if someone comes in and is plotting harming another or harming themselves. You actually don't give absolution, because it's such a grave matter that this is a complete travesty and a tragedy. So you hope that you could say, what? How about the sins will forgive for sure, but this isn't a dish. This is something that we got to really talk about. You can't plan on harming anyone, let alone yourself. That's not what God would want or will. And in those situations, the person's not willing to move forward. You kind of just have to say, well. Everything that you said is staying here. It's in the seal of confession that can't be broken, but absolution won't follow because there's a hiccup here, and that's I guess, can make you really unpopular in the confessional, but you have to care for the other. I've heard, without any names being said, but examples being used by people saying, if someone comes plotting something really, really evil, confession absolution is not to result. There's going to be no forgiveness. It has to kind of end there, and you just ask the person, say, you can. I won't say anything, but we're not going any further towards a penance or forgiveness or mercy because you're plotting harm to someone or yourself. Those are the tough cases. I'd actually agree with the author's viewpoint. Is should there be some times where the seal could be, But then I guess that opens a really slippery slope
Right.
too.
And can I ask a question on that too, Father?
Sure.
So I heard this from a traditional Latin Mass Catholic. Forgive me, I'm not Catholic myself, so I don't really know
It's okay.
where you would stand on this or not, or how this viewpoint would be shared. But if somebody came to confession and the priest deemed that person not actually repetitive, couldn't they not actually grant them confession? If I came in and I said, hey, I killed my girlfriend and I'm going to kill more people, that would not be deemed as a
They're not
forgiving.
sorry for it at all.
Yeah. You're not going there to seek forgiveness of God and man as a secondary, but you're going there to just kind of I don't know, whatever, grant your sick fantasies.
There's a major criteria that has to take place in the confessional on the penitent's part, and that is a contrition for sins with an intention to make an attempt or try to do better in the future. You're not going in there saying, I killed my girlfriend and I plan on doing more harm, and I'm not sorry about it, and I'm not going to try to do better, but I'm just going to let you know about it, Padre. That's kind of I guess that would be what we would call an abuse of the confessional, because there might be a long line of people that really want to go and, are really looking for some counsel and some healing, and not only in a therapeutic sense, but really healing of the soul. And then with the healing of the soul comes, physical, emotional, and mental healing as well. And that loss of guilt and shame, and, the shackles are off and you can go forward and be resurrected with the Lord as we are in baptism. And that's what we re-enter to. In each sacrament, we go back into that state of grace, being forgiven. But the fear is that people could misinterpret it and misuse it, or we would use the word abuse the sacrament, and then there's no contrition and there's no intention to do better, and therefore we're kind of back at the drawing board of just being in a state of sin and not caring. Yeah.
And then just a quick follow up on that too. In regards to keeping and I forget the word you used, I apologize. But keeping it between you and God, but keeping the confessional confidential. That's
seal, yeah.
The seal.
Yeah.
I was under the impression too that if a priest had concerns about the confession, whether it wasn't legitimate or the individual had plans to do harm, that the priest could then go to their bishop or their next higher up without breaking the seal. I had the impression that was granted with the current ruling, that you could actually go and seek further counsel, and then possibly go back to that individual and say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question, because the more and more I think about it, the more hesitant I don't have a black and white answer, as I should. I would always, if the situation would have rose in the maximum sense, I would say a situation to a higher up, just got a question without breaking the seal. Example, you didn't know what to do. What would you do? And maybe you could make some type of an example similar to it, but you got to be really careful that you don't make any connection, because then you're in a slippery slope again. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. But I thought you could. I'm sorry. I thought you could. It would be within the seals of confession that you could actually take it to your bishop without breaking the seal, and actually take the matter to your bishop.
I don't know. I've never had that situation. Thanks be to God, and I've never looked into that matter. But that's actually a really good question. I don't know the answer to that. I wish my classmate who's studying canon law
Justin, you guys remember Justin?
Yeah, Justin, yeah.
He's in school right now to become a canonized.
I think he's actually driving home from Washington, D.C. as we speak, either today or tomorrow, because I know he's coming home to see a friend get ordained a deacon of the church this weekend. So I would wonder what he would say. I don't know that answer. I should, because I'm sure that is such a huge possibility. But I just kind of when stuff like that, when challenging things happen, I try to help the person in the moment and just not worry if there's a line or a lot of people coming to confession. I kind of, take each and every person as if they were the only one going and try to talk out solutions and really help them make they say a good counselor never tells someone exactly what he or she should do, but helps them find the right answer in the moment by counsel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I had a friend who is a priest in Diocese of Pittsburgh, and I asked him about, like, if somebody confesses that they murdered somebody or like child abuse or whatever, and he said he doesn't break the seal, but he said he makes it a matter of penance for them to turn themselves in.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Because they don't have true. Because you have to set yourself right with the law. You've done something, and so have you ever heard of something like that? That's my first question. The second is
that's kind of clever. I like that.
The second half of the question is this something that can even be changed in church law, or is this one of those faith and morals issues that cannot be changed?
I mean, the Pope always has the possibility to do certain things. Since this did happen at a council of the church in 1251 with the seal of confession, I could always imagine that there could be something that
probably
could be worked
council.
on. Worked on and progressed in another council or of such matter, like maybe a Vatican Council III or something like that. But in terms of what you said, the penance being what that priest enacted in Pittsburgh, that's definitely a real possibility for sure, because the purpose there that he's saying is, what makes up for the sin would be to, going towards justice, and you did something wrong, and your penance is going to be to turn yourself in or to right the wrong that took place. And penance is actually contractual. So the person could say, I'm not willing to do that. And therefore the priest would say, okay, then I won't give you absolution. So then the penitent would probably say, okay, and then leave the confessional. Everything would stay there, but he'd have to go to a different priest and hope that priest was maybe, more merciful. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The penance is contractual. So like, it'd be like, well, my son or my daughter, if you want to be forgiven through the Holy Spirit, if you lit a building on fire and killed 30 people, your penance is going to be a tough one, but it's going to be to turn yourself into authorities and say that you did it. And then the person could say, well, I'm not going to do that. And then, the confession ends. There's no forgiveness. There's no prayer of absolution. You're not washed clean in the blood of Christ. The sin remains. Because that's what we believe is when you're given the prayer, God the Father of mercies, through the death and resurrection of his Son, has reconciled the world to himself and poured out the Holy Spirit for the forgiveness of sins through the ministry of the church. May God grant you pardon and peace, and I absolve you from your sins in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. We believe that you're at Calvary at that moment, and yet you've been washed clean in the blood of Christ, and then you're washed clean. You're back in good graces, and all is good. And it's not the priest or some like magic trick. It's Jesus doing that through the minister, through Peter, Paul, Andrew, James, John, and those that follow in apostolic succession. But it's really a matter of faith, and that can only be given to the grace of the Spirit. Simultaneously, in terms of, like we said, in penance, it's a contractual thing because nothing's forced down someone's throat. It's always a matter of freedom. The person has the freedom to accept the contract of, okay, I will. I'll pray in Our Father, I'll pray for my enemy, and then move forward, whatever the penance is. Or you can say, no, I'm not going to do that, or renegotiate. I mean, I guess the person could say, Father, I'm not willing to do that. Is there another penance you'd be willing to give me? And the priest might say something different. But
6
if he doesn't,
million Hail Marys.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be even harder. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Father Rob, for joining us to give your thoughts as a father within the church. So I want to toss it back to us in the room to get our opinion on what he says, our thoughts. What about you, Stephen? What did you think?
I understand. I mean, as a pastor, I'm a mandatory reporter, but I do understand that the sacramental, it is different for them. And so, I am, as a warm-blooded American, we do have to respect religious, what's the word I'm looking for? Practices, religious,
Authority.
strongly held religious beliefs. And I've heard priests say that they will go to jail before they break the seal.
Yeah.
It's something they believe deeply because I get, it's tough because I do get the whole thing about if they're like, I molested a kid. It's like every ounce of you wants to be like, this creep needs to go to jail.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
And like I said in the podcast,
He needs to be protected. Other kids need to be protected against him.
because they could do it again.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder if some of these priests, it happens in Protestant church too. Don't let anyone fool you.
Right.
Some of these priests who molested kids, if maybe they confess to their friends and they're like, do 10 Hail Marys and then they do it again next week.
10 more, yeah, right.
Yeah. So I get it, but we do have to respect that it's part of their sacramental belief, and it would take a council for them to change. So, So
I do want to kind of lend an ear to the readers of kind of what the article was talking about from Michael Bird. And there's two main sort
what's
of
the article called?
I'll
is
link
it time
in the
to
description.
he'll link
Okay.
it? Is it time to break the seal of confessional?
Okay.
And so, from the gist of what I got, in a real quick summation, there are two main sort of arguments historically that we find against the seal of confessional. The first is this: that the one that it's not biblical, right? And there's sort of two main arguments that come from it. What he talks about, the first is that when he goes to the apostles, the forgiveness of sins. One, they actually meant that the apostles can forgive the sins. Now, the argument is it doesn't follow that even if the early church was doing it, that it belonged to anyone else but the 12 apostles, right? That's the main sort of argument. Secondly, the other argument is they get it from the Greek, where the forgiveness of sins doesn't literally mean like an absolution in the Catholic sense, but the fact that if you forgive them, they're forgiven. In a sense, like if you punched me and I forgave you, they're literally you're forgiven, right? Not in a legal sense against God, but in a sort of contractual between persons type sense. That's sort of the main argument of number one that you find kind of in this article in the literature. The second is this: there is an argument from like the second greatest commandment, right? Where the idea goes like this: if it is the second greatest commandment is to do unto others as you want to be treated, right? And so we have a moral obligation to follow and treat others and protect others to that degree. And to not break the seal violates that moral commandment. Therefore, we should break the seal. And so that's sort of the argument that comes also in the literature, and you kind of see in this article and flowing from it. And so I kind of put together a deductive argument that I kind of pulled out from this article myself, and this is how it went. The seal of confession is not a biblical mandate. Premise 2, we are morally obligated to the second greatest commandment over non-biblical mandates. Therefore, we ought to be able to break the non-biblical mandates. That's sort of kind of the argument I pulled out.
Of course,
from
in Roman Catholic thought, though,
it is a biblical mandate. Correct, exactly.
It's a mandate from God just as much as Scripture.
Exactly. So the question is the interpretation of Scripture on that.
I mean, I agree with you. Obviously, I'm just trying to see it from their conscience perspective,
and that's the whole point of this, right? Like, if before we just rush to things, let's get it from their perspective before we jump into conclusions. And I do think, as Father Rob pointed out, there is a like a tug and pull over this. Like, I think even you listeners listen to him, you can feel his understanding of, oh no, in some of these situations. Yeah. This is a tough line to draw, and I can see some of these situations putting them in almost a moral fight within their own hearts of what do I do when it comes to this. And I do like,
especially if you hear the person does something else.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I do kind of like, that's why I said it was clever. You're one person in the diocese in Rochester, I think you said?
Pittsburgh.
Who said, I will not, if you believe it's biblical, I will not therefore absolve you unless you turn yourself in. And I think that might be a good kind of middle ground for the time being until things get worked out. But I feel for someone like Father Rob in this situation because I get both sides of the arguments.
Yeah.
And I don't really have much skin in the game when it comes to this, but trying to be a good thinker and work theologically through these type of things.
What do you think, youngster?
Yeah, what do you think, Bradley?
I'm a little bit more skeptical than you guys are about that it should be removed.
Okay.
And
And I think that's fair. You can be skeptical.
And here's the reason why. So, now I'm not Catholic. I never grew up Catholic. I've never gone to a Catholic church. So let's just get that out of the way. But first of all, so I've grown up in a Protestant church or in a Protestant setting all my life. And one thing that I've noticed now more than I did when I was younger, but like if you go to different Protestant churches, there's no tradition aspect to them. Like some of them have different like traditions that they've implemented themselves, but there's not really like a set traditional standard across church to church. So one quick example could be communion. Our church does communion the first Sunday of every month.
You mean every local church has their own tradition on a lot of these things?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like the chapel, we'll use them as an example compared to Mike's church. So Mike's church does it once a month. At the chapel, I think I only did communion once in the 2 years that I went there.
They kind of got like lax on it, but it used to be.
And I'm not saying
every first Sunday.
We do it once a month.
Every first Sunday. Yeah.
And so to me, it seems like there should be more traditions that the church values. And so for me to sit there and say, okay, we should break something that's been in place since 1200 AD, I don't necessarily know if I would support that. And it's not.
So you're talking about the seal, or so I think
I'm talking about more the seal,
not the confession, because there was a confession, but then there's a seal of confession.
But he did say the seal started in the
1215, 1251, something like that.
1251, I think it was 1254,
1250, something like that. Yeah, I forgot what he said.
So I'm not good. Like, I mean, I don't look back at history and say like, okay, all the guys that came before 1900 are idiots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
1850. No, I'm just kidding. Even
still, like that excludes George Washington.
He
or Thomas Jefferson, or like, you know what I mean? Like, there's.
I'm actually related to Thomas Jefferson, but that's okay.
That's cool.
That's a different story.
But I don't think that people were idiots.
I agree with you.
100%. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, I have to think that they looked at all the arguments against it and said, okay, this is why we're doing it. Like, we have a grounding for this. I think it would be interesting to get Father Justin's perspective because
as a canon law lawyer,
he's studying this.
Law expert.
That being said, it was my understanding that if a Catholic priest, and again, I mentioned that I got this from a traditional Latin Mass Catholic, which is different from the standard, from what I understand.
Like Roman Catholic?
Yeah, so like there's an offshoot, and the guy that I got this from is from an offshoot, which is the traditional Latin Mass. So they go back to more traditional standards.
Pre-Vatican II Catholic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's more of a traditionalist Catholic as it is. So I would say that without knowing too much about it, I was always under the impression that if a priest takes confession, thinks that the person isn't being genuine or that it could harm somebody else, he could go to the bishop and get resolved from the seal and go and seek actual help. Like I never understood it as he's like contractually bound to confession. And I also I always thought that if the priest didn't grant forgiveness of the sin, there was no seal to begin with because there was no like confession granted.
Yeah, no, he said they still couldn't because they're in the confessional.
Yeah. And that might have been my misunderstanding. But I mean, it's a tough argument. I think that it depends who gets rid of the seal for me. Is it the government that says, okay, Catholic Church, you have to get rid of the seal? Or is it the Catholic Church
Yeah.
that comes together and says, hey, we're going to get rid of this because of this?
And it would take an ecumenical council, which hasn't happened
people
since
don't
1960.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
They
that
can't just be like, let's just stop doing this.
Yeah, the Pope can't wake up and go,
No. Yeah.
and I think that if the government, and I would say this for Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, any religion that I don't believe is
correct.
a valid religion because it's not under Christ. So I would say that my answer would be the same if the seal belonged to any of those religions as well. If the government came along and said, you have to get rid of this, I would be against it. And so because if you get rid of the seal, if the government gets rid of the seal confession for Catholics, what can they get rid of for the rest of us?
Yeah. That happened in England when
It's
the
a-
government
it's a
took
scary
over
notion.
the church.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a scary
doesn't
notion.
end well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, now you look at England and there's no
but that's
churches in England.
That's why I feel so bad for someone like Father Rob, because he understands
The conundrum.
in both sides of the coin. And he goes, I bet there's some instances, I should have asked him, that he wished he could have just gone straight, like, this guy did all of this. I have to stop him from further crimes. But
he took a vow.
But he
and
took a vow.
He's bound
Yes.
to it.
So
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like, who are we to deny Christ's love? Would be
well, I don't think
and
that's
I'm not-
denying Christ's
no,
love.
I'm not saying that though. Like, I guess if you know,
That's the whole point of
if you're upset
Bird's
with
argument,
somebody's,
right?
if you're upset with somebody's like decisions or whatnot,
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if they accept Jesus Christ, like, and Jesus lets them into heaven, like,
Well,
know,
I think there's a distinction between salvation and legal justification or judgment
yeah,
here.
there is, yeah,
Yeah, especially because once again, we all know you could be the worst sinner and repent, but you still have dispositions to do certain things, and you still, you know what I mean. So, I think there's an argument against protecting for further dispositions as people work their way into sanctification, right?
it's definitely a brain teaser. This
Yeah, I agree, and
topic.
I wonder where
It's not easy. It's
the
not
process of sanctification and justification fall into play in their belief, because I know sometimes Catholics hold different positions on those terms and ideas, which I think could cause a different reaction to the seal controversy. So, I don't have the answer.
A few years ago, if I didn't know like what I know about the Catholic Church now, like I would have just said, get rid of it. It's like being an uneducated person about the Catholic Church, I would have just said, get rid of it. It doesn't have any place. But like knowing why it's in place and like knowing a little bit about how confession works.
Yeah,
and
they don't
like,
just make this stuff up.
it's not not there.
People are not fair to Catholics. I'm not saying I agree with them.
100%.
But people just
Yeah.
they don't even know the truth about it, and they just draw conclusions.
To what Bradley was saying, in their theological worldview, I can see how it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things I heard too was, if you got rid of this confessional seal, like one of the worries was that there's nothing, it's no longer between you and God, which is what it kind of symbolizes,
Yeah.
but it would be between you, God, and everyone else, your confession. So like,
Yeah. So if I was guilty,
if you
if
were
I sinned and confessed to God, nobody would be reporting me to the government. I'd have to do it myself.
Yeah, but one of the worries would be I've heard one of the worries would be that like, say you cheated on your wife, and you were, or maybe it was something like you lied to your best friend. That's something like
Bradley's not married; he's single and available. So let's keep that in mind, ladies.
just lowering the level of sin, not necessarily level of sin, but
He's trying to change the subject.
Yeah, real
here.
fast.
I'm just trying to continue my point. But like lowering like the level of like, I guess wrongdoing from like murder to a lie.
Right.
That's no longer, how long until that's no longer bound under confession is kind of like one of the worries as well. So I don't know, like,
yeah.
if I had like traditional Catholic knowledge, like maybe I might be able to.
I noticed Bradley is way more intelligent now that he has a theology beard.
I know.
So
I'm smarter than a doctor.
Ryan, our doctor here does not have a theology beard, and I even got him one. Still doesn't have one.
That's true. That's true. Bradley had to show me how to open the front door today.
Bradley's going to pass up Ryan in intelligence if he doesn't grow one soon.
I look terrible with a beard. I look 400 pounds heavier. You grow you got an inch on the double chin already.
Have
and
you
it just looks
seen
not
Spurgeon?
Good.
Have you seen
Everybody
Moody?
looks better.
Yeah,
with
they
a
weren't.
beard.
That's not healthy though.
Did
No.
we ask about health?
Can
We're
I-
talking about-
Can I just like ask one more thing before
Yeah.
we close off? So I noticed Father Rob said I was going to stop him, but he ran out of time, so I didn't ask him about it. But he had mentioned that if a priest denies you your confession, or like you refuse the
Yeah.
penitence,
absolution.
you can go to a different priest. I thought you were bound to like if you were a member of said church, you
can
couldn't
go to any
to-
priest.
You can go to any priest. I didn't know that.
Any priest. You just
So
go up
that's
and ask for
interesting.
confession, yeah.
So
You just go around until you get the penance that you want.
And it's usually anonymous. I mean, unless you ask for face to face. Most confessionals you can either kneel before a screen or you can sit down in a chair and it's face to face.
I thought
So
it was
you
like
can
a
choose.
booth, like one of those like wooden booths with like
Yeah. So they usually have a screen or you can choose face to face. So right next to it, you can look through and see the priest if you want. So most time it's anonymous anyways. They wouldn't know if you were from their church or not. A Protestant could go in and they wouldn't know.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's odd. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought that you were like bound towards your church for.
Any church.
Okay,
Yeah. So even if it sounds then if that's the case, the seal is the information of the sin, not the connection of the person with the sin.
They can't share anything that's said in there.
yeah, I
Right,
thought
at
it might be like
Except
There's a difference between like
He can give a hypothetical.
but for instance, he can go to the bishop, right, and says, Mark told me this, that he's going to murder people, versus what do I do if someone says he wants to murder people? The second thing is actually a breaking of the seal.
Yeah, the first one, Mark.
But if you're not looking at the person, wouldn't it make how would then you break the seal
probably
by
wouldn't
just
know.
giving
yeah. See, that was that. Now that adds another.
if he
level
knew who
of
it was, but I think they can
complication
share the information.
Well-
Like it's anonymous.
Well, part of the reason why I thought like you're bound towards your church, like you can't just go to some other church to
you
get
always
a
see the
different
person?
judgment.
Yeah.
Was like I thought that if you were denied repentance, like you'd almost be like marked, quote unquote. Like you can't
Yeah, no.
like you're not
most
forgiven
time
of
it's
the sin
anonymous.
by blank because of blank.
Yeah,
I
most
didn't
time they
realize
don't
that it
even
was
know
just like-
unless they recognize your voice. They don't even know who's confessing.
Like a TSA computer. They put you in, and then when you go to the next one, it flags you.
I know Catholics who purposely go to a different church because they don't want their voice to be recognized by their priest.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, because they're embarrassed. You know.
Yeah.
I would think that you would want to stay within your church because if you're going through the bothersome, or not, but like the more bothersome route of actually confessing your sin, you'd want some like actual help with it.
Well, and that's what penance is. It's not a punishment. It's supposed to be something to help you go on the right path.
Yeah.
Like it's usually prayer. Like pray five.
Like if you were
Our Fathers, it's to keep you focused, to get you focused on God, and to get, for instance, that kind of stuff, or turn
Yeah. But
yourself.
like
in.
I thought that like if you were struggling with drug abuse, wouldn't you want to go somewhere that you could repeatedly confess and then like have the church back
hold
up
you
and help
accountable. Yeah, that'll be useful.
Yeah, but you can't do
but I
that
don't-
technically.
You can't do that if
You can do face-to-face confession if you want. You can choose.
Right, but then you have
It's almost like
but then you have a non like professional because there's mental health counselors for a reason, right?
Yeah, they aren't to counsel you. They hear your confession
Right.
and then declare absolution. That's
So
it.
the church technically then can't go to like Mark and give him to someone else.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like to me it would seem like if I was going to go through confession, I would want to be backed up by my church.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you can do that. You can do a
But
face-to-face
it
and ask
seems
for
like
help.
now granted I'm not a new Christian. So if I was a new Christian, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want the same things that I want now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I almost think that for a new Christian, it would be more beneficial to be backed up by your church as well. Like, even though you might not know that. Like,
And they can if they want to. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
don't have to.
almost like it would be better to be forced to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
For anyone who wants to hear confession, anyone who wants to give confessions to Bradley, he'll be here from 6 to 8.
Father Brad.
He has a beard, so it's official.
Okay.
But thank you guys for listening to this episode today. Thank you for Pastor Stephen Manion. Here he is.
Can I hear the applause? Do the applause
Is
sound?
there
don't
applause
have an
thing?
applause
No.
button.
Come
and
on.
thank you to Father Rob for coming in too. Oh,
Yeah, there we
There
go.
it is.
Woohoo! Woo! Like old days.
There it is. And thank you, Father Rob, for coming on, giving us your perspective on the whole situation. And yeah, listeners, if you want to get in touch with us, find us at the Caffeinated Christian podcast at Facebook or Instagram. Send us in some ideas or topics. So if you get any news articles or YouTube videos you want us to discuss, or you hear something you didn't like,
Or if you want to date with Bradley.
that too. That true.
That true.
That true.
True that.
But yeah, send it to us and we'll take a look at it, and hopefully we can do another great podcast off of your thoughts and opinions. So yeah, thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.
This music is far more inappropriate with current events.
Yeah.